This conference will now be recorded.
Yesterday we had a discussion. We started with the term called testing. We put a definition for that, right? So we put a definition of testing. Testing, what we defined it as a process of executing an application with an intent to find defects. So this is what we defined one sentence. And the other one we said as it is a process of identifying the defects, documenting them, and subjected to rectification. This is what we had a discussion. So we evenly had a discussion saying that testing done by whom? Right? We put three questions on the screen there. What is testing done by whom? Is it important? Importance of testing, we said. Of testing we discussed about, right? And ways of testing we evenly put a question. So these are the three questions, and from these three questions we discussed yesterday completely was all about testing done by whom. We put technical people like test engineer, developer, and as well as the end user also, right? Test engineers, where we said we play a vital role for the application when it has been tested, right? So what all we do on that application is we define it as test engineer verifies the functionalities of an application as a functional tester. Functionality, which is we call it as working condition, how well the application is working. We put up a lot of examples like Google homepage, we said it as, which is a search engine web page. Some example onto the pen, some example onto the calculator, which I took yesterday's example, right? So these all examples we took for the functionality. Whereas we put up another line also, performance of application when we are testing it, we called ourselves as performance testing. So performance tester. So performance in a sense we put it as response, duration or durability, how well the application is responding to the user request, or otherwise how well the application is responding when multiple number of users are accessing, right? Much load putting onto it. It is all coming in that, right? And the other line we put it as, we test engineers create manual test cases and convert those cases into script. When we are talking about script, the automation comes into the picture, right? We do test functionalities, performance, we do write cases, we do prepare some scripts. So this is all your test engineer's responsibility. So we call it as vital role which we are playing. Right. One of the technical person we call it as ourselves as test engineer. The other person is developer, we said. Right. So developer, what does he do? He prepares programs, the programs to be tested, and the technical term we call it as unit testing. So developer performs unit testing on the software to ensure individual methods are working properly. So this is the line. And the programs to be tested, I gave you an examples of C language, doing an execution, call it as compilation. Where we are doing it in Java, we call it as debug. So end of the day, you are trying to check the program's syntax errors or any coding standards prepared wrongly over there. So as a developer's point of view, we put it over there. And the other person is end users, we said. End users are nothing but developers and test engineers only, but performing what? UAT, which we call it as user acceptance testing, Where it has been conducted? Conducted at client location or live environment, we said, right? Live environment, right? And what is it at the client location we are doing? We are performing a formal testing process over there, not in a detailed manner. The detailed manner testing was conducted at within the organization by the test engineer, right? But when the product is released at the client location, we are not going to do that much detailed investigation or detailed testing at that stage, right? So that is why test engineers within the organization perform a detailed testing, whereas once the product is released to the client, the end users perform a non-detailed testing technique, right? So this is what to test. Also, you can discuss about that what to test when it comes. We'll again have a discussion, right? So this is what we had a discussion yesterday. Completely testing done by whom, right? Then another question we had over there was testing. Is it important? Importance of testing. How important is this testing, or for whom it is really required testing? So how important is this testing is? It is really required for the organization so that it can be delivered to the client with a defect-free application, and the application is working properly, and it should be worked properly based on user requirements. I'll put few lines like this for you, right? So it is really required to find defects which were made during development process. One line like this, I can put it like, and the other one is, it is necessary for organization so that end product can be defect free and working properly as per user requirement. This another line we can put it as, right? So in that case, when we are talking about importance over there, why did we put importance only for the organization? That means it is not necessary for the client. It is evenly necessary for the client so that he can rely on the product which is being delivered from that corresponding organization, right? It is evenly necessary for the client. So we'll take an example onto this, say like this, right? We as a client walking into an organization with some requirements, right? And the requirements are provided in the organization where it gets developed, right? We'll put it like this. We regularly we kept on buying some cell phones. Like probably you people have been bought cell phones also, like 2-3 cell phones also. Either you buy it online, offline, does not matter. We are not concentrating on the online marketing or online shopping or offline shopping. We'll go to a retailer as a client. Our requirement is to buy some Samsung mobile. We'll put one brand, right? Our requirement is to get some Samsung mobile phone. And the mobile phone, that is our requirement. So what is the retailer is trying to do? Is trying to deliver our Samsung phone to us, right? So he developed it and delivered to the client, right? Now you as a client, what do you do with that particular mobile now? When you bought it, you come down to your place and what do you do with that mobile? Get that remembrance, like what did you people did those days when you bought your mobile, like new mobile the very first time? whatever it is a smartphone or a normal program phone or whatever it is, does not matter. So what did you do on that particular day when you got that mobile? Don't you people remember anything? We as a client, we were completely concentrating on that particular new mobile, right? We were checking that screen, we were checking the cameras over there, we were checking the audio part, right? We check all the applications also. We kept on doing this, like in a jolly way. 1 or 2 days we were completely onto that, even forgetting about to have our food also. We completely did put our 2 days concentration onto the mobile to get into the understanding. So say like, if the mobile is not working, we have some issues, the camera is not working, the cameras are not switching on when we are clicking it, or the what do you call, the front camera, the selfie camera is not working. What do we do when the mobile is not as per the requirement? Simple. As a client, we'll go back to the retailer, give the cell phone saying that this has a problem, so I want my phone to be repaid or replaced, whatever it is. If it is an online, you have a what do you call that, return policy kind of a thing, right? It goes back to that online shopping. Otherwise you get your mobile back, otherwise you get your money back, right? So that's your process over there. So what do these retailers, what the developers will do? They will do the rectification part, then give it to you, right? So you will check that. So you will check that camera. Is the camera is working now? Fine. If it is done with that, it will go. Otherwise, you have some more issues because it is having a problem. So you will, as a client, you will go through the mobile once more, little bit thoroughly, trying to find some more defects into that. Is it really rectified or not? All these things you will do. So in case if there is another issue again raising, so you will again go back giving to the retailers, to the developers, saying this is having another problem. So like this process keeps on happening. You from your place to the retailer place to the client, right? You keep on moving around. So after 20, 30 times, your mobile has been rectified. Over here, my question is, are you satisfied with that product? The Samsung cell phone, whatever you bought it, are you satisfied? No. So in that case, so as a well-wisher or as a friend, I come down to you. I'm planning to buy a refrigerator, a Samsung refrigerator, right? What will be your suggestion right now then? I'm planning to buy a Samsung refrigerator. So what is your suggestion? What is your review? Will you tell me to go ahead, go buy the refrigerator, or no? So you people are joining for this classes. If at all I don't teach well, right? Your course is finished, like you inquired somewhere else. That person has told you like it is a 20-day session, but I finished it in 10 days, or otherwise he said it as for 10 days. I finished it in only 5 days. And you go through the content of the manual testing topics and all, everything is being covered, right? All the practicals are also being done with that, right? So all your queries are also being resolved. So your someone else, your friend, your brother, or sister, whoever comes, like we are also planning to learn testing. You recently you have completed. So what is your suggestion? Shall we go join over there or not? What is your review you will give it? Otherwise, anyways, tomorrow you go to the Google, you type the review so and so. What is it? You will give some reviews over there. What will be your suggestions? to go for the product or not to go for the product. Confused little bit? So I ask you the question again. You people are clients. Clients where you're trying to learn some subject called testing, right? That was your requirement. So you approach to an organization, right? And that organization is giving you some sessions. If the sessions are good, you're satisfied, your queries are solved, it is closed. If it is not satisfied, what is it you will be giving the review in Google? Or what is the suggestion to your well-wisher giving it? To learn the subject over here or not? Not satisfied, no, fine. That means you'll not even give any people to say any to go learn the subject over here. That means where are you pointing out the where are you pointing out? You're pointing out onto the organization, or you're pointing out to the corresponding faculty over here. You're pointing out to the organization. That is why I took an example of a brand called as something called Samsung. Right? You bought a Samsung cell phone, you have an issue with the cell phone, right? Where I asked you for a Samsung refrigerator. And what do you people will suggest? No, not to go. Samsung is a brand where it is selling not only mobiles, refrigerators, air conditioned, television, X, Y, Z, everything it is selling. But what did we do? We pointed out saying that the product is not giving us a quality product. Sorry, that organization is not giving us a quality product. It is giving us a defective product over there. Similarly, where you people are learning, you will not tell that that organization is not teaching you well. Organization is not teaching you. Arvind is teaching you people. So you will always type a review saying that MindQ is not teaching us well. It is not MindQ kind of a thing. It is all about Arvind teaching you over there, right? So that is what it is. You will always point out the organization and the faculty comes later on. So organizations are getting bad reputations kind of a thing. So to overcome that, it is evenly necessary for this organization. Why? So that they can deliver a defect-free product which is working properly over there, right? So for that necessary, the organizations have been put up a test engineer, a profession person, test engineer to test all client requirements, then deliver client over there, right? So earlier we did not put test engineer. Client coming down with some requirements given to the organization where it gets developed. Once it is developed, it is directly delivered to the client, right? So client was facing a lot of issues with the product because it is not being tested anything, neither any quality assurance is being given over there, right? So for that purpose, organizations are getting a bad reputation. So overcoming that, they put up this technical person called as test engineer to test all client requirements, then deliver client. Now when it has been put as a quality, now you can use a word called quality over here, right? Now organizations can give a stamping that we are delivering a quality product, right? Now in this case, we cannot assume that, we cannot say that the client will not come back, even though in this case, he will come back. But comparing to the earlier discussion, we said like 20-30 times. Over here, 2 or 3 times does not matter, right? We electronic products, everybody has an issues. Once or twice you keep on moving to the service centers and come back, right? Rather than the earlier 20-30 times like that, right? So that is why when this technical person, quality assurance engineer, you can say that person as test engineer, you can say it as, right? We assured it is a quality. Your requirements are being available completely and it is working properly, right? That is why I'm putting a stamp onto the product as QC, okay, check the path. If at all you people remember, if at all you people observe, right, onto any products, there will be a sticker being placed onto it. If you have a system on your in front of you, keyboard, just turn around the keyboard and see, you'll be seeing QC, okay, check the past, some stickers are there. That means it is all quality analyzed, it is, right? So that is what it is. Testing is necessary for the organization to deliver a defect-free product which is working properly. It is evenly necessary for the client to get the quality product so that he can rely onto that organization which has been delivered from that corresponding organization. So that is how we are discussing about importance of software testing over there, right? We have another discussion, another question is left over in yesterday's discussion. Testing, ways of testing we discussed. How many ways you can do a testing? Either it can be a software testing, either it can be a hardware testing. You can only do it in two ways. Otherwise, you do it in a manual way, manual testing you say. Otherwise, automation testing, right? We'll have a small discussion regarding these two now. Right. Manual testing, we said, we'll put one line like this. Testing with the help of manpower, right? So everything to be done manually. That is why it has been given name as manual testing. Right. We'll come down to the pros and cons little later. Automation testing we are discussing about. Testing with the help of tools, right? A software we are using it. Tools or software. Any software. We'll come down to that. How many types of softwares are there? We'll come down to that. Right. So when we said manual testing with the help of manpower, as I told you, it can be anything, software application or a hardware application, anything. So in your day-to-day life also, everything is manual and automation also. Say like you're climbing a building, right? A building using a staircase will be your manual testing. Otherwise, you use your lift, you call it as automation testing. Simple as that, right? If you're driving a vehicle also has with gear, without gear. So with gear is your manual, without gear is an automation there. Everything is that, in that case you can put it. Now you can take a lot of examples and try to get some pros and cons of manual testing, the advantages and the drawbacks of manual testing. If at all you people can give me some points regarding that manual testing advantages and drawbacks, that will be great. The main advantage in the manual testing is no programming language required. So in our entire discussion, we are not going to discuss anything about, in the manual discussions, we are not going to discuss anything all about programming language. So that will be our major advantage. And the other one is, yes, we'll come down to that. It is a time consumption process. As normal human being, always start thinking about drawbacks. You people don't want to think about any advantages. No thinking about positivity. Always negativity. Think positive, will come down negative little later. Right? Fine. Anyways, you raise the point. I'll put it over here. Time taken process. Right? Anything else? Advantages? Can test any application. We can test any application. That means either it can be a window-based application, web application, mobile application. So we are comparing, we are into software side, so I'm only putting it as software applications like window, web, or mobile application. There is no restriction for us. It can be anything. We can do testing onto that. And we can do 100% testing. We can do 100% testing possibility. Now, how is that 100% testing possibility, right? In yesterday's discussion, we said we can test functionality, we can test performance, right? We write test cases, we write bug reports, right? And so on. We do all these things, right? Any application, whichever you have it, you can do all this manually over there. End of the day, it is time taking. But my point over here is it done or not? Yes, it is done. So we are able to do 100% testing over there, right? And we do write documentations, preparations also, right? Documentations are possible over here. So we cannot prepare documents in any automation, right? So we'll come down to the drawbacks now. As ma'am said, like time taken process and anything else, no accuracy. We cannot get an accurate result. How much time you when you take, we cannot get that accurate result over there. Simple example, our task currently right now, lead has given us to do a mouse clicking operation. So we are 3 over here in our online session right now, right? And all 3 of us need to do the mouse clicking at a time, exactly dot, right? So that is the lead which has given us a task. So that points, that dot, we cannot click on time exactly, which is manually not possible, right? So we are putting it into automation. That is why we have put this drawback into manual side, no accuracy, right? So, and anything else, more drawbacks? Repeatable is not possible. We cannot repeat the task. Repeating in a sense, writing test cases, right? Preparing bug reports or doing the testing completely again, which is very difficult for us to do it in a manual side. Right? So, to overcome these manual drawbacks, that is why we are using our automation side. Right? Now we'll talk about pros and cons of automation. Right? In simple discussion, we don't want to drag it. Manual cons will be automation advantages. Right? Simple as that. Whereas when it comes down to cons, simple. This is what it is, right? So we said no programming language, which is an advantage in manual testing. So our drawback is we need to talk about programming when it comes into automation, right? So we need to talk about program. So we have to have a minimum basic knowledge on Java, right? That is a drawback. Can test any application, we said. We'll take an example. Anyways, tomorrow you're going to learn about a tool called Selenium. So I will compare with Selenium over here, right? So Selenium will test only web and mobile application, not any window application. That is another drawback there, right? we're talking about 100% testing, right? So Selenium, when we are comparing it, Selenium only does functional testing, no performance testing, no test case preparation, no bug report preparation, or no documentation preparation. So that is what it comes in, like in this case like this. Whereas when we are talking about pros, right, fast in process, right, we get an accurate result, easy in repetition. So this is how your automation advantages and drawbacks are being put into, right? So you cannot do the complete testing, entire testing manually anytime, or otherwise you cannot do testing completely entirely on using automation. So a test engineer must have manual and automation knowledge compulsory together, right? So that is why we call it as, you call it as testing tools. What is mean by this is nothing but manual plus automation. Combinedly, you're talking about testing tools over here, right? So that is how it is. So any application, software application or a hardware application, you always start with manual, right? So manual you start, where I prepare some test cases, and for the accuracy, I give it to my automation test engineer, where they prepare some scripts, and those scripts will be executed, right? If any defects are being raised, it is sent back to the manual test engineer again to prepare a bug report, right? You start with a manual testing, you go for an automation testing in some extent, and you evenly end with your manual testing over there, right? This is how it goes in any application testing over there. So that is why manual is mandatory for any application, and they say automation, we have options. Now what are those options? Now we'll have a discussion in that, right? So we have taken an example of Selenium. That means apart from Selenium, what all tools are there in your automation side? Now people get confused when they say automation. Don't think about only Selenium. Today in our market there is Selenium happening, so we are trying to work on the Selenium. What about yesterday and what about tomorrow? Now tomorrow we can't guess anything there. Tomorrow it will be Selenium or some XYZ. Yesterday it was QTP. We were completely working on QTP. We evenly taught students QTP. When market suddenly came on to Selenium in 2004, we started teaching Selenium for people, because it has a lot of advantages when it comparing to the previous of tools called as QTP. In that case, how many types of tools are there? That is the discussion we'll put it here, right? The question is types of tools. So we'll put like this: 4 types of tools are there. Now 4 types of tools, you people started thinking. So he said there are plenty, and why does he mention only 4 number over there, right? So it comes in this case. There is a functional tools, performance tools, defect management tools, and test management tools. Like these 4 tools are there, right? In this functional tools, we are using today Selenium. Yesterday it was QTP, now which is called as UFT. UFT is Unified Functional Tool. QTP is Quick Test Professional, right? So it works similarly like Selenium only, right? So that is why evenly QTP is called as a functional tool. Selenium is also called as a functional tool. Now when you start your Selenium session, the very first day, your lectures will be like this. Otherwise you read some books, or otherwise you browse anywhere, it will be said like this: Selenium is an automation web application tool to test functionalities of web application. The first line it is clearly mentioned, web application only and functional testing. So that is what it is. I put it as drawback because I put an option over there called as Selenium. So Selenium will only test functionalities of application and web application. What about window application? So nowadays there is no window application, so that is why we stopped QTP. QTP was we used to do window application and web application testing. But when Selenium came, Selenium only testing web application and mobile. So why did we have to drop this QTP? Because window applications are stopped in the market. That is why we had to shift from QTP to Selenium. Are there any window applications nowadays in the market? Example is in front of you, Notepad which I'm using, right? Or the meeting application which we are taking, GoToMeeting, it is also a window-based application, right? So such kind of things are being developed yet, so we are still have to do the testing, but those type of applications, Selenium is not supportable, right? Now tomorrow we can't guess anything, may Selenium can be updated, right, or upgraded to evenly do window application testing also, right? So like this, QTP, UFT, there are plenty of tools like this. You can browse them in the Google for the names. Whereas when we are talking about performance, we require a specialized test engineer to do performance testing, where they will be using a specialized tools for themselves, something like Load Runner, Silk Runner, something like JMeter, and so on. Like these tools are. Where it comes into defect management tools, we have Bugzilla, Quality Center we have, right? There are a lot of tools here. Whereas test management, we have QC, which is called in a short form Quality Center, right? Jira we have, TestLink we have. There are plenty of tools like this, right? Each tool is meant for a specialized work. Test management, where I am preparing some test cases, right? That is why it is called as a test management. Now, once the case execution is done or the script execution is done, we find some bugs, so we use some defect management tools like this. Example is a Bugzilla or a Quality Center or a TestLink. There are multiple tools like that. Now, you are a profession in to do only performance testing, you're going to learn some tools like this. You are going to get profession in functionality testing, so you're getting and educated in this tool called as Selenium also. So each tool for a profession test engineer to do the profession work. So that is why we have like this types of tools, which are 4. These are the 4 tools. The software names I have put it over here like this as an example, right? So that is how we get into types of tools over here. So types of tools we discussed about, manual and automation, which we discussed about, right? That which we call it as ways of testing, which is manual and automation. Both combinedly, you call it as testing tools. Any application you require manual, mandatory, because you need to start it. Where I gave you an example, a building staircase you need to climb, right? Your apartment is there. When you come down to your apartment, right, you park your vehicle and walk few steps where you started your what do you call manual process over there, right? Initial process you took. You get into the lift, where I call it as automation, right? You go to your floor, which whatever the floor is, you get out of the lift. Now to walk till your flat, that is again your manual process. So that is how it is. You'll always start off with the manual, use your automation in the middle of the process, and always end up with the manual in the process, right? Manual is mandatory, automation is option, and the options are like this. If you're working on functionalities, you talk about these tools over there, right? That is how it comes into the picture. Now, we'll have a slight comparison between these tools again, right? Why we had to shift from QTP to the Selenium process, right? That we'll have a discussion. I'll take one Selenium as an example over here, and the QTP or UFT, however you can get it. Right. Now, why did we have to shift from QTP to Selenium? The main reason Selenium is open source, free, no need to pay any money. Whereas when it comes down to QTP, commercial, we need to apply for a license, single user license, multi-user license, like this you have in that case, right? That is one reason which we had to shift from from QTP to Selenium. Another reason, right? Language compatibility, right? We can write scripts in Selenium using Java, Python, Ruby, and C#. All these languages it supports. Multiple languages you can write. Whereas the QTP, when it comes to the UFT, you will write otherwise Java, otherwise you write it in VB script programs over there. It does not support any more languages, right? And supporting operating system compatibility. It is nothing like compatibility. It is nothing like you need to have only Windows operating systems. It supports Windows, Linux, MacBooks, right, and so on. So any operating system it will support. Whereas when we come down to this part, which we are talking about, QTP, it will only support Windows operating system. That is one reason, right? And more, browser compatibility. It works very much perfectly on Firefox, but evenly supports Chrome, Opera, Safari, or Edge, the Edge of browser, which is your Windows 10 Internet Explorer. So before Windows 10, it was Internet Explorer. From Windows 10, it has been changed into Edge. So that newer version, upgraded versions of the browsers will also support Selenium over there. But when it comes into this UFT, it supports Internet Explorer. That means the older version, not the newer version, and the Firefox browsers. Not apart from this, it will not do anything else. So when you're trying to do some compatibility kind of a testing, right? Client comes down saying that my website needs to work onto all the browsers. If at all you are trying to do it in UFT, it is only supporting 2 browsers. Now, how about you will give a confirmation on a Chrome or a Safari that it evenly works perfectly because it is opening in this browsers. Until unless you do not open it and test it, you cannot say it as it is. Requirements are being satisfied. You cannot assume in that case. So for that reasons, right? So few reasons I put it like this, right? Because of these reasons, it has been moved. All the testing technologies have been moved from UFT to Selenium, right? There are some more advantages also. When the Selenium topic comes, we'll be giving you that detailed discussion over there. It is nothing like UFT is having a lot of drawbacks. It is not like that. It is evenly having a lot advantages also when it has been compared with Selenium. One is the example is window application, right? Like that, there are a lot of advantages also, but companies are preferring test engineers who's having Selenium knowledge of it, right? That is why market is being shifted in that case, right? This is a slight comparison over there, right? So this is what it is all about discussion. Types of tools comparisons where we did Selenium with QTP or UFT, which we call it as, right? Manual testing where we are using some tools, and the example tool you're going to learn is Selenium, which has an advantages, right? Repetition in your technical language, regression testing, which we call it as. We'll get to that word little later. Regression testing is easy these days, right? Which is fast and process. You get an accurate result. Accuracy is again dependent on you. How well you write your scripts, the result will be given perfect. You write your scripts little wrong, so you will not get an accurate result. So I can put it like this: might be, because it is all dependent on the test engineer perfection, right? But for any script to write, you need to start off with the manual where you will be writing some test cases. Right? So this is how it goes on. So when we are writing test cases, we'll write plenty of test cases. I'll be giving you people evenly homeworks also, so that you can write it on your instances over there. Based on that, I can assume that how well you people are writing it, right? You put a lot of concentration on writing cases. We'll be giving you a lot of examples also on that, right? So this was your today's discussion. Tomorrow when we come down, we'll discuss all regarding quality defining, right? Quality gaps we'll be discussing all about, right? Quality cost we'll be discussing about. So tomorrow's discussion is all about quality, deviating from quality, what are the factors of quality, right? All this will be your tomorrow's discussion in that session.